Everybody, it is Stryker. We're building the Tuna on Toast community. Hit that subscribe button. And all these episodes on the road in Vegas are all happening because of Velvet Hammer Music and Management Group. They manage AFI and Korn and System of a Down and Avenged Sevenfold, and they love Tuna on Toast. Now, here's another episode.
This is Tuna on Toast.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Tuna on Toast. We are on the road in Vegas, Blue Wire Studios at the Wynn, and next to me, the front man from Avenged Sevenfold. Hello, M. Shadows.
Good to see you.
It's good to see you too. How the heck are you feeling today? The show was 12 hours ago.
Yeah, I feel good. First show in 5 years, so we had to get that one out of the way and just kind of feel it out again. It was very nerve-wracking and weird, but it felt at home after the first 10 minutes or so.
It did?
Yeah. But, in the beginning, it's just like just frenetic anxiety. You want to pop out of your skin because you're just trying to figure out, what is this thing I used to do?
Right. And but it came back to you that fast, just after 5-10 minutes?
It came back pretty quickly where it was like, okay, just got to settle in. It's all good. The fans are here.
Yeah.
Everyone's having a good time. This is not that serious. Just kind of putting some sort of like perspective on it, on stage and kind of quickly trying to calm down.
What I find impressive and want to know how it works for you, you've got the show to do, but there's so many other things going on in your mind, getting the record done, the business side of the things. But at the end of the day, it's about the performance on the stage.
Yeah.
So how did you get yourself to that place with the guys over the last, month or two for this performance?
Well, the guys have been working really hard, on their own at their houses. And then obviously a lot of programming and things with the crew and getting them all caught up on what the record sounds like, what we're trying to do. And then working with a production team to kind of put everything together so that the old songs don't stand out so much to the new stuff that we're trying to do. And last night was, the show with no production. It was just the music. But when we're moving forward here, it's a lot of rehearsals. We've been in Vegas for the last week, rehearsing every day, just the music part. And then, we do a couple festivals coming up. Then we go back for another week before the Forum. And that's going to be full production, trying to make everything make sense. So it's a lot of work. And everyone, especially Sin, he's been doing tons of work on the programming side. And what I mean by programming is like everything from vocal effects and guitar effects that change and like boost when the solos come up and tones that change. He's figured out a way to program that all so that all happens on a timestamp, which is crazy. But
right.
But then you got to think these are computers you're dealing with. And then when you send, you're trying to make sure you have a backup computer. But when you save that, it reverts the other stuff. And so he's been going through like hell. And but he's got it under control now. But it's just a lot of work. And then on the other part you were talking about, there's the merchandise side. There's the Area 15 listening party. There's getting the record done, the vinyl, the tapes, it's really overwhelming. But at the end of the day, there's a part of you that just enjoys getting in the shower and singing the songs and practicing your performance and practicing what you're going to do 2-3 hours a day. And just, it kind of takes you back to that earthy, raw, this is what you do. Right. And then everything else is kind of like, you got to have good management, which we do. The people at Velvet Hammer, and then just let them kind of handle a lot of it.
How'd you feel playing the new songs live last night? Because I think you did 3. You did Game Over, We Love You, and Nobody.
Yeah.
How'd you feel those went?
Better than expected.
Okay.
I mean, I felt there was so much energy on them. And I think part of it is, it was a good feeling because part of being a musician, one thing that you get, like, some people are hyper aware of it and some aren't. We're hyper aware of nostalgia and getting stuck. And then also like audience capture, where people want something of you, the way you look, the way you sound, the way you live your life, the way you speak, the ideas that you have. And I believe you have to be completely free or you'll be captured by expectations of people. And for us, the new music, the vibe on stage was different. And when you go out there and play it, you want to have this like fresh feeling, and it felt fresh.
Good.
The fans were responding. Like, We Love You, that trancy 808, like it felt like a dance party, and the song had just come out that morning.
Right. And I saw people singing along to it.
Yeah. So like, to me, it's like, that's a good sign, because what you start seeing is like bands, not only will they veer away from new stuff live because they're worried about, they want that like pure energy set list, but they also start like allowing the fan base to kind of dictate, like I paid money, I want to see all the hits. It's like, well, there's bands like Metallica and Iron Maiden that continually play new stuff and they reinvent themselves, and it pisses people off, but it allows them to be interested in what they're doing. You can't get anybody and tell them you're going to program the computer or you're going to sing the same songs you did 23 years ago and you better be happy doing it. And just be happy that you can't do it. So new music, you want it to go over well. So it was very exciting for us to see the response because I think they want it too. But you have to give them something compelling that they want to listen to. You have to challenge them in a way. And if you're having fun, they're going to have more fun, right? If you're super, I don't even know how I'd feel if we had to go up there and play all of our old songs after 5 years being off. I would feel like I'm stuck in the mud. I would be like, what am I doing? And it's not anything against those songs. Those were written by 20-year-olds, right? Or 25-year-olds or whatever it was. We're not those people anymore, but I can appreciate it as long as you let me have my cake too, right? I want to do new stuff. And I think the fans that are engaged, highly engaged do too. But I think as an artist, you need to give them something compelling and challenging so that they feel like they're growing, that you're growing with them and you're not just growing away from them.
I love that. You're wearing a Daft Punk shirt.
Yes.
I have listened to the full-length album. Without even knowing that you own this Daft Punk shirt, I sent you a text that a couple of the songs feel to me in the most complimentary way that maybe the Daft Punk guys could put a Ram 2 album out and you would be featured on it. And I love the new songs. So is there any inspiration from Daft Punk then?
Yeah, it's really, the record obviously is rooted in some sort of raw, earthy, metallic rock, metal, whatever you want to call it, abrasiveness. But the things that we were really pulling from were, and it's so weird because, I was talking to Pete Wentz years ago about this when we loved the Kids See Ghosts record that Kanye and Kid Cudi did. And we were talking about a song called Free. And he was saying that he had talked to them and they were saying that they were trying to channel Led Zeppelin. And so they had these Led Zeppelin drums. It was their interpretation of Led Zeppelin. But I thought they did some really cool things with it. And so I had an interpretation of their interpretation, right? And so when I listen to like things like that, or like the Yeezus record, or Daft Punk, or Rammstein, or any of these bands that are just off the grid, there's like a reinterpretation of what they're doing, but with this like sort of heavy metal flag.
Yeah.
And I think what you're hearing obviously is like a lot of Daft Punk, a lot of this kind of, not being afraid to use technology in a really grounded way, like vocoders and like this sort of funk and this sort of like Nile Rodgers sort of like feel and groove, and not being afraid that just because you're a metal band, it shouldn't have groove. Like groove is rad. And if you can kind of like be very back and forth with it and really create something that's compelling. So yeah, Daft Punk was a huge influence and you totally called it out and it was right on for sure.
Okay, good. Tracks 8, 9, and 10. The album comes out June 2nd. When you're watching this, it may already be out, but I want to ask about track 8, 9, and 10. 8 is called G, 9 is Ordinary, parenthesis around the O, 10 is Death, parenthesis around the D.
Yeah.
G-O-D. Everyone's going to know that, right? Will they get that straight away?
I think so.
Okay, all right.
We left parentheses for them.
I'm no genius here.
Yeah.
Okay, or it just could be O-D if you don't put the G in there.
No, G's in there.
Okay.
G's in there. And that obviously you've heard it. It's 3 vastly different styles, right? It's
yes.
But it's also it was influenced by, Sicko Mode by Travis Scott, which we were listening to, and it's got that Drake verse in the beginning and it cuts off right when you're like about to get into it, goes into another song, then it cuts off again. And we were like, man, 3 songs in one is kind of cool. It's very like this ADHD kind of society we live in. And I was noticing I was enjoying shorter records more recently. And so we wanted to do something where we weren't giving you, a 8-minute Frank Sinatra song. We're giving you like a Wizard of Oz meets Frank Sinatra for 2 minutes. And then something else that was Daft Punk-esque for 2 minutes. And the concept lyrically, G-O-D, you've got God, who's like the God that most people think of when they think of God. Like he's super bummed on all of us. He's like, I didn't do very good with this one. I want to kind of wipe him out.
Yeah.
They're super fans, not into it. And so he deletes them. And then AI comes up in O, which is very like robotic, which is kind of got that funk Daft Punk feel. And then that's like the robot going like, am I a human? Am I really feeling things? Am I just programmed? What is this? And then it goes into D, which is much more existential and sad, but it's kind of this mundane life that someone can't find freedom until they end their own life. And it's something that a lot of people go through, and it's a dark issue, but we don't ever talk about it. But everyone has had that moment where they sit in their bed at night and they wonder, what the heck am I doing here? Right. And they have these deep thoughts, and it goes like, and I'm not going to exist forever. And that's scary. Everything you've ever known is not going to exist. And so trying to put that into a 2-minute package and wrapping it up in this whole idea that we call God, right? Like it could be all these different things. So it's a vague term, but it's got a lot of different like elements there.
There's a song called Cosmic on the album, which, don't quote the exact time, but roughly 7 to 8 minutes long. My first 2 listens through the album, it's in my top 2 favorite songs.
Appreciate it.
I love it. Is there potential where that will be played live at your shows?
Oh, yes.
Oh, really?
We're not going to play it in the first round here, but we will play it because we've noticed that we were doing this listening party at Area 15, and our videographer, Rafa, was out there, and he said, everybody's freaking out about Cosmic. And so it's going to be one of those things where, you know, like there's been songs in our catalog that we never really made singles. One is A Little Piece of Heaven, and it just becomes such a big song by the fans that it supersedes anything you could have put it on the radio or do whatever, but the fans made it big. Afterlife's another one where it was never really a single, and then it just became huge. And I think Cosmic is turning out to be something that the fans might want to hear live. So
awesome.
I can't wait to play it. We've practiced it. We've played it. It feels great. Ooh. Yeah, it feels great.
When you practice a song like that for the first time, listen, you've been in the studio and it takes hours and hours, if not days, maybe a month. What is it like? Is there a super frustration level ever, or is it pretty easy to do something like that live straight up?
You know, when it starts coming together and you're in it, it feels really satisfying because you're like hearing it for the first time, like really feeling it and really, you know, really imagining it. And like you've only heard the version that you have, and now you're hearing a different version, and there's all these things you can do with it. And it's fun, man, to hear the real drums and hear it all in person. It's great.
Is it a conscious decision to end the record with that beautiful instrumental? And if you let it play and go to the first song, it puts you in kind of a similar mood, but there's a ton of feelings involved going from the last song to the very first song.
Yeah, I think it was a happy mistake. You know, it was something that we noticed was happening, and it was awesome, but it wasn't something that we were like super dialed in on. It was just kind of like we wanted to end the record like end of life. Life is but a dream. This is like 80 years old, looking back on your life and either being extremely satisfied and filled with love, or being extremely regretful, or being extremely confused, you know, about where you're going next. And we felt that was like this kind of pondering bed.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, as it goes on and it starts over, you know, you notice that game over is like kind of beginning of life when it starts up, and it's like, okay, everything's being given to you. Here we go. Like beautiful, beautiful day, sun's out, you know, the daisies are all here. And then, so it's kind of this cycle that I think is a great metaphor for what we're all dealing with.
When you look back at yourself, let's go 15 years, not as a professional, as a person, how similar or different are you today?
I'm the same person with a complete awareness on how toxic ego can be and how much it lets our actions be driven by it. And when you're young and you don't have any sort of disconnection between self and ego and like having any sort of like observation of your thoughts, you just do. And you kind of just, you feel like you have no control. And as you get older, if you can find out you have control, I can observe that same person is me, but I have control, and now I can make a choice of how I want to react to certain situations. So the young me would have just reacted and didn't matter what the consequences were. You know, if someone says something, you're going to fight them, or you're going to do this, or you're going to be mad and angry, and you react a lot, and ego drives a lot of that. But if you can step back from that, the me now is always kind of one step behind that, watching my feelings play out so I can make a choice. So same person, but a different perspective.
I totally get that. Speaking of small people, Your kids were at the show last night. And if I haven't said it yet, and I'm sorry if I haven't, the show was fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
I got the goosebumps walking in there. It felt like I was at home, and the people that were watching, you brought your enthusiasm and they had theirs. And it's like, man alive, I think we all needed this right now.
Yeah, it felt great. Thank you.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it.
But your kids being there, can you just please, it seems like if a professional baseball player finally has a son or daughter who's old enough to go to the game, what was it like for you?
It was incredible. And, I had listened to a Sam Harris podcast just before, and it was interesting because it really spoke to me. He was talking about, think of somebody in your life that you love, and you don't know how many moments you're going to have with them. So make sure that, when you go see them today, that you are doing everything you can to let them know that you love them. And that really stuck with me because I just wanted them to feel what was going on. I wanted them to come on stage. I wanted them to feel the energy because all they've ever known is dad on YouTube,
right? Or
dad is in the studio, or dad's with Uncle Brian and they're messing with something in there and they're making songs and dad's singing them in the shower. Cool. And to actually go to a show and see it, my son Cash, who's 8, was crying. And it was emotional, man. It was cool. And it's great that they get to see what dad does because the last time we played, River was 5 and Cash was, 3.
Wow.
So 8 and 10 now, it's like, oh, this is what dad does. Okay, it's real. So it's great.
Was there any possibility last night that the show was going to be delayed because the Lakers game was on?
Yes. I was trying to get the Lakers game on the teleprompter, and that couldn't happen. So, we're obviously all huge Laker fans, and we couldn't believe when they didn't win game 5 and we had to go to game 6.
They
and
got smoked in game 5.
Yes. And so I'm sitting there going this thing's really happening at the fourth quarter is going to start when we're on stage. So we were all pretty bummed on that. And it was actually affecting me. And I thought, I was thinking this isn't really going to affect me. But all day I was angry about it. I'm like, God, why? So I got word that we won, made it great. So yeah.
During the show, you guys stopped completely because one of your fans had something happen, maybe the heat, they passed out. I think we've all seen over the last 5 years, that's probably the right move to do. What did you see? What was your mindset that second?
Yeah, I think, I talked about this once before. I think there's constantly people trying to get you to stop shows. Sometimes, you might have one friend next to him or this or that, and you can't do it all the time. But this was a situation where I noticed there was a large portion of the audience with their hands in the air trying to get our attention. And when that is the case, you usually know there's somebody on the ground that shouldn't be moved, right? Someone's either knocked out, neck could be broken, something could be happening. And you want to stop the show as soon as possible to make sure that, because the music, none of that stuff's important when it comes to a human that could have something drastically happen to them that's going to affect the rest of their lives. So just stopped the show, got them out of there, and then moved on.
Yeah.
I think they're fine.
That was good. How is your voice feeling today? Because there's practicing, but then there's performing.
Yeah, I think my voice feels great.
Good.
I definitely use the mindset of live to fight another day. There's elements of the old me that would have tried to push really, really hard through that set. There's elements I didn't love about how my voice felt, and there's elements that I loved. Things to go work on. I think the thing about life is it's so impermanent, right? And it's but if you give yourself the option to live to fight another day and work on the things that you need to work on, the feeling of being out there, the larynx comes up a little bit, you want to push a little bit because you're excited. And that's just, getting back into it and calming down. It's like anything, I can imagine going out and being in an NBA game and just shooting it way over the basket, or being super short, it's a thing that you have to get used to. You have to get into a groove, you have to get into a vibe. And, so for me, it's just this impermanence of life, and it's working on this thing. This can always be fixed. Mm-hmm. You can always get it going. You just have to make sure that you're in the right mindset and you take it slow and get in there. So voice feels good today.
Good.
Didn't hurt myself.
Good.
I'm ready for the next one. And I've got work to do. Everyone's got work to do. And I think there's things that Brian didn't love about his playing, and there's things that Brooks wants to work on. And that's what people don't understand online. It's always either you're good or you're great, and it's going to be like that forever. No, we work really hard on our stuff, and we're going to watch that show back, and we're going to see what we didn't love, and we're going to work on it. We're going to get better at it.
Is that something you do often, is watch one show and then say, we can do this better or this better?
Yeah, I do.
Really?
I do. I don't treat this as like singing is a passion of mine, and I want to go out there. Last night, I would give myself a 6 out of what I know I can do, right? And I think the band played great. I give it an 8, but I want to get that to a 10. When you're playing live, you want to get it to you want people to see what you can do, and that's just going to take repetition. It's going to take getting out there and feeling it and knowing where things were breaking down, like what parts were breaking down, where notes were coming from that shouldn't be where they were coming from. And so that's just my analytical brain. I want to know what's going on. I don't want to just go, oh, well, hopefully next time it's better. Like that's not how I roll.
Because I think, this happens in my bubble, which is a million times smaller. I think I did a really good job. I'm like, boy, oh boy, I'm the best. And then I go watch and I'm like, ay. And so the reason why I had that reaction when you said you go watch yourself, I hate watching myself because it's uncomfortable because you have to fit. It's honesty right there.
Yeah.
And
there's like a lot of parts, like when it gets really soft in our set that I notice I get flat. And like, I try to figure out ways to fix that, right? So like, I'll have our monitor guy put a piano note in there. And so I'll sing to the piano note instead of the guitars, because the guitars might have an overtone and drop D that take me to where I think I'm in key, but I'm not, right? I'm hearing it wrong. So like, it's little things like that. Like, why am I flat there? I didn't think I was flat, but it's like, okay, that's happening consistently. Give me a piano note and I'm going to sing to that. And then, oh, that fixed it. Right. So it's like little things, but it's uncomfortable because you got to sit there and watch and go like,
right.
And then you got to see the comments and they're like, so flat, this idiot's tone deaf. And it's like,
come on.
Yeah. So it's like, it's one of those things where you really have to be free of all sort of criticism and just be your own worst critic and just know what you need to work on.
Last 2 things, then we'll get you out of here. Sick New World is today. The doors opened. You went at noon today?
Yes, I did.
And who'd you see?
I wanted to see Scene Queen. She interests me a lot. I like music that's really abrasive and causes some sort of controversy. And she is doing something cool to me. And I wanted to go check it out. I've never met her. I've interacted with her a little bit on Twitter. But I wanted to go at 12:10 and I got up early, got over there. I loved it. It was fun. And then I've got a list of bands I want to see tonight. I think we have like the same list pretty much, but Spirit Box, Turnstile, they're playing at the same time, but gonna we'll toggle, right?
Right.
And then 100 Gex is one of my favorite groups right now. Absolutely love 100 Gex. Gonna check out that whole set, and then we'll obviously see Deftones and Korn and System.
That's going to be like that hitting us over the head with a hammer, one after another, right 100%. There. And right off your show last night, what a weekend this is in Vegas.
Yeah. That's why we did it this weekend, right? Because we knew people were going to be in town, and just give them something to do. I remember last year, or not last year, but I don't know. Were you here for When We Were Young festival?
I was here, but then the day I was supposed to go, the weather canceled it.
That's right. So I was here too, and then Bring Me the Horizon played at the Pearl.
Okay.
And I remember how exciting that was, and I love Bring Me, and I went and got tickets, and we went and saw them at the Pearl, and I was like, I want to do something like that where we don't announce this thing till the day before or day of or whatever. And I did tell Ryan Harlacker I want 500 people, and it's 3,000 people, but Don't ever let a booking agent
right.
give him too much leash, So
listen, you had the show last night. You're going back today. Thank you for your generosity and just being so nice to me over the years, man.
I love you, Stryker.
Thank you, M Shadows. Congratulations on last night.
Thank you.
Life is but a dream. The album is fantastic. For M, we're gonna wrap it up here for the day at Blue Wire Studios. Tuna on Toast on the road. That's M. I'm Stryker. Happy snuggles. Bye-bye. Hope you enjoyed. Now hit that subscribe button. And for more Tuna on Toast, listen wherever you get your podcasts.